Video where I'm going to describe how to format a PDF from an Excel spreadsheet. So first, let me demonstrate what would happen if I were to just hit print, or even if I just upload this file to Blackboard, and oftentimes what will by default happen within Blackboard. If I just hit print, here's what the PDF would look like, right? First off, I'd cut off some columns right here. You'll see I have 7 pages worth of stuff. It kind of extended down below, and then the next page, here's some of the rest of the columns over to the side. Gives me this one little extra piece over here. And here's a graph that was on the page. By the way, this is the spring homework for ME470. Or at least a very extensive part of it that we wouldn't have done. Anyway, here's the last page of the 7. All right, so it's unformatted. So here's the basic idea, the basic routine. Let's select what it is you actually want to show. It's not really possible with this huge spreadsheet to present everything that's on it. So you might want to consider of getting rid of the things that are unnecessary, but make sure that it's formatted enough that people know, like with some description, a variable, units, maybe where you got the thing. My colors represent input information, looked up information. So input's yellow. Looked up information is orange, and then data I collected was blue here. And then here's a special one because I took that slope actually from the slope that got measured from here. All right, so that's not really important as part of this, but I figured I would narrate why we had different colors and sort of the big idea. All right, so I think I can get all of this onto one PDF. And I think there's enough information that students would be able to understand it if they're familiar with what was going on. So I highlight what I want print, and I go to page layout, and then I come to this guy right here. So that's page layout in terms of the tabs up the top. And then in terms of this item, we go to print area, pull it down, and set print area. That's the main one to remember, set print area. All right, so now that's set. But we're not done yet. We want to come over to PDF, over to print. So there, go over to the side, go to print, and now we can see the print preview will probably be, it's like 4 pages because it can't fit everything on there. All right, so I purposefully chose one like that. So we had to be careful with this because we could go too extreme. But the first thing that we could do to try to fit this in here is we could get the margins fixed. So if you go down to this tab down here, the normal margins, you open that up and you see you have an option for narrow margins, right? So we got pretty close, got better, but we're gonna have to do something to fix it, right? So we still didn't get the stuff that we wanted. If you want to look at what the margins are, right there. You can go a little crazier with those margins if you want. By pulling them. Like you saw that I go over to this icon down here. Now you can see the margins, and we might be able to get them in there if you pushed a little bit, right? But we don't have enough room for this column. We do have to consider that we could make the columns smaller if we wanted to, but we have maybe a little bit one and down this one down below. We might be able to. We could either do that in here. I think we're able to move these columns just a little bit and squish them. But we're getting rid of it. We're losing information right there, so we might not want to do that. So this is a balancing act. It doesn't always work perfectly. We could also look and see how much did we use in these columns right here. Like if you kind of take a gander down, you can see that if we got rid of some sig figs and some decimal places in places, we might be able to move our columns. So let's look at that. We could grab all of the columns and at the same by selecting right there and just kind of move them, and they all kind of shrink the same amount, right? You can see that they don't show up here, so we could come back to home, go over to this under the number thing and reduce. Okay, so these are in scientific notation. I don't know if necessarily needed to know what the mass of the spring was. And some of this information, by the way, was not necessary for our for what we were doing, because I didn't ask you for this in class. We didn't get to these topics where we read the natural frequency of the spring itself. Um, I can get the decimal places down on here. You know, it's fine. 3 decimal places as an answer are fine, and you know that the sig figs are still going to be fine with underneath inside Excel. So he really did a good job, I think, a pretty good job of reducing the column width. We might consider, you know, we could narrow this one down just a little bit. And now we go back to our preview here, and we still can't quite fit it. One last column on there. So if that's the case, here's our last resort. We don't want to use it too often, but now we could go to page setup right here. And what you could do is hit fit to right here under the page, fit to 1 page wide and 1 page tall. You could also, if you need to, mess around with adjust and do the percentage right there. But if we do that right there, we've got it. And we need to make a good judgment. Reason why we want to hold off on some of this, we want to make a good judgment of whether this is too small or not. We don't want to go too crazy, so there's a limit. We don't always want it to be doing the thing that I just did. I also could probably get rid of this one column called in class. But once I'm done with that, I have that preview. I could print it out, and I have a formatted Excel spreadsheet, PDF, and put it into miscellaneous here and give it a name. Please always name something with the semester, the class, what it is, and your name. So there you go, and hopefully we will have a pretty formatted, fairly pretty formatted. Let's see, did it work? Where did it go? But I just put it in there, didn't I? Is that where did I print that to? Oh, miscellaneous, that's why. Duh. Another assignment's miscellaneous. So miscellaneous, whatever miscellaneous happens to be. There you go. Open it up. And we have a nicely formatted Excel spreadsheet that I will be able to read instead of uploading the Excel just to Blackboard. So, the end. Hope that wasn't too long.